Today, we're speaking with Steve Shaw from Massive Iron, a beast in his mid 50s who won't be put in a box as he continues to lift heavy and has a passion for ultra running. We talk about powerlifting, old school bodybuilders, nutrition, and what it means to train like a superhero. So in 2007, you started powerlifting and you found a passion for it. At one point, pushing for a 2000 total, but you also got your weight up to 346 pounds in 2012. So when you started powerlifting, you must have had expectations of what it would go like. I'm curious, can you talk about something that went better than expected and something that went worse than expected?
Better than expected. I had done powerlifting, I think, for 3 or 4 years, and I coached many people on the platform. I started coaching people, and there was a meet in Iowa, the UPA meet, where all the big lifters in the Midwest competed, like the Lillibridges and Pete Rubish and Paul Carter was there, and a lot of names people in the powerlifting community will know. And I actually took a break from the platform and coached at a meet in January that year before I reached 346 pounds. And I got the bug to come back. So you asked something that went better than expected. In that block of 4 months training, I did basically a lot of daily max work, like daily singles, doubles, and triples. And my strength exploded. I had no idea what had happened. When you've been training for 35, 30 years, and then you try something different and it completely changes the game, it catches you off guard because you think you know everything. So that is really one thing that taught me a lot about powerlifting. And what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
Yeah, the second part is, what is something that went worse than expected?
That meet, I was sitting at a Pizza Hut a week before that meet, ready to hit at least a 1,900-pound total. And at the time, there had only been like 80 or 82 people in the history of powerlifting that had hit 2,000. So even if I didn't get there, I was within the shadow of giants. So I was super excited. And I was sitting at a Pizza Hut daddy-daughter day with my kids. And I started to get cramps from head to toe. I could literally not move. I had Charlie horses in every muscle. And this went on for basically a week. So something that I didn't expect was that for type 2 diabetes to nearly kill me when I was eating myself up in strength. You get to a point where people look up to you and you're super strong, but it's also killing you as well. I didn't expect such a sharp curveball in my life.
Did you feel like just chasing the totals made it easier to justify either eating unhealthier or just eating in a surplus?
Well, it was a weird, I don't know if synergy of events is a good way to put it, but I was very depressed with my relationship, my marriage, and we were actually doing a home repair where the kids and the wife weren't in the house a lot. They stayed at my mother's. So it was just me in the gym and a lot of food. And when I was binge eating, normally I would just do it at night when the wife went to bed, but that allowed me to binge eat a lot earlier and gain weight a lot more quickly. So it just kind of was an amazing synergy of events that allowed me to eat more, gain weight more rapidly, and put on more strength.
Okay. And I know, I guess at that point, you then lost, over 100 pounds. So I'm curious, kind of on that journey, what would be your Mount Rushmore, the four most important things that you did for that transformation?
Number one would be I did it to save my life. I was scared because a friend told me, "Hey, your liver's not processing minerals. That's why you're getting cramps, and you're going to have a heart attack any day unless you're lucky." So I did it, number one, because I was scared to death. I thought I was going to have a heart attack and die. That was my prime motivator. Number two, This surprises people, but I didn't count calories. I just started to eat animal and plant-based. It's not like I sat down and like it is nowadays where we have so much information, like which should I do, the carnivore or the vegan diet? Like I just stopped eating junk. And what's left, spinach and hamburger, right? Or whatever you're eating. So I made the switch. That was number two. And I didn't track calories. I just took care of myself with food. So the taking care of myself with food was a big part of it. And I'm trying to think of what I would put as the other two. Um, I just was afraid of my health. I made that switch, and I think I moved away from powerlifting back to my roots of bodybuilding where I was doing more volume. And I think this was better for me physically because I was getting in more activity. And number four, and this is probably going to sound strange to people watching, and I will explain it, but I left a relationship that wasn't good for me. So I could basically get out and be free again because I never want to frame divorce as a overly positive thing. But sometimes we meet people and we go different directions. And it's not that that person is a bad person. They're just not good for us. And leaving that relationship and allowing myself to have some time to myself where I'm not being somebody's dad, where I'm not being somebody's husband, where I can just take care of myself. That was probably the fourth piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, so it sounds like a few of the items are tactical in terms of like what you're eating, for example, and some small changes to your workout routine from powerlifting to more bodybuilding style. But that motivation, kind of that fear is a huge part, and then making sure that you had the right environment to be successful.
Yeah, and the whole calorie thing, just to kind of frame that a little bit, I was eating 7, 8, 9,000 calories a day.
Wow.
So when I say I just switched to animal and plant based, and I didn't really limit what I was eating, I was still probably only eating 4,000 calories a day. So when you dump that amount of calories off your daily diet, I think I lost like 50 pounds in 3 months without batting an eye.
9,000 calories is a lot of calories.
Yeah, well, my my
What was your go-to meal when you could eat 9,000 calories?
I had a pretty set structure. So believe it or not, it was pretty much a derivative of intermittent fasting. And that's going to shock somebody. That's like, how do you do that and have a window where you eat? I really didn't eat a lot during the day. I would have, a couple mild protein shakes in my coffee, and then I would train at like 5. And when I was done, I would eat dinner. But when I would eat dinner, I would eat dinner, right? I would eat a helping and then another helping, and then probably maybe a third just for good luck, make sure all the food is gone, right? So um, then I would do my fatherly stuff. And about 10 o'clock after my ex wife went to bed, I would have usually chips and salsa or nachos, which is at least 2,000 calories. Then I would wait an hour and a half, and I would have a quart of ice cream. Okay, not a pint, but I would put as much as I could into a quart of ice cream. I wouldn't eat it all, but I would just eat it until I was about ready to burst. And then somewhere around 1:30, right before bed, I would make 4 packs of ramen noodles and put as much cheese in it as I could stand. And that's probably another 2,500. So 2,500 for the ramen, 2,000 for the chips, another 2,000 for the ice cream, and then whatever dinner was 2,000. So I was crushing like 8,000 calories between like 6 and at night and 2 in the morning.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know how I could. I literally, looking back, don't know how I did it.
I think one thing that's a good tidbit from this is that, the fitness kind of media says like you can do intermittent fasting and you can eat effortlessly and you can be in a deficit, eat the foods you want. But I find that even with myself, I have a pretty large appetite. I'm guessing it's not as large as yours. But I haven't found that to be the case. Like I have to be mindful about what I'm eating pretty much all the time because I can crush a Costco size bag of Ruffle chips pretty quickly if I want to.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to what you eat and how important that is. I mean, it's easy to make it, to create some derivative uh, formula where if we just eat what we want, we get in all the nutrients. We're not hungry, but really, it's deeper than that. If you want to have the equivalent of a 2,000 calorie chips or nacho meal, you have to eat like 15 potatoes. And with healthy food, we don't have that reaction like we do to hyperpalatable foods. We have a potato with butter and maybe some sour cream, and we're satisfied, right? We don't feel like we want to eat 15 of them, right? So there is some built-in regulation in just choosing to eat animal and plant-based.
Awesome. So, kind of moving on, what I'd like to do is I'm going to put some images on the screen of kind of some influencers, YouTubers, or maybe some people for inspiration. And I'd love to just tell me what's the first thing you think of when you see the image and the person,
Okay.
and what workout you'd want to do with them in person. Very well knowing that you just posted a video that you don't want to do everyone's workouts.
Right, right. Let's see it. I'm scared a little bit. Jeffrey. I've been in the industry for a long time, and it's always a pleasure just to watch lifters like this train. And I think we're both competitive in the sense that we love training. It's not like we'd want to beat each other, but like when you get two warriors in a room, they're going to know like, hey man, I want to do this. We want to do this. Let's kill each other. Right. Let's get after it. So, um, I don't know. I think I'd probably like to work back with Jeffrey because my back training is so different from so many people. It's so intense and so heavy and so long. And I think Jeffrey could hang with that duration and that punishment.
Awesome. All right, moving on.
Spiderman, we need to get him on some heavy. I know he's got, the natural strength, but we really need to bring up that muscle mass a little bit and get some hypertrophy focus. So we're going to put him on a program where we're hard training, where we're focused on maximizing more sets. And really, I'd be like, look, I don't care how strong you are. We need to focus on progressive overload here, Spidey. We need to put on some mass. You're doing okay, but you're kind of, you're about 20 pounds, 15, 20 pounds away from your natural potential. Let's start to work on that a little bit.
What would you try to learn from Spidey? Agility training?
Probably how in the heck he can handle being up so high without having a panic attack. I loved Spider-Man as a kid. It was probably my first hero obsession. But man, I can't do the heights thing. It's just not for me. How do you handle it? I mean, I know it's like giving this superpower, but still, how do you handle that fear?
For sure.
Arnold. The when you're young, you worship your idols and think they are infallible. And Arnold is a good example that you don't need to have form perfect to build mass. Not that he had sloppy form, but sometimes he would be doing what I would call speeding. Some of my clients, I'd give them a speeding ticket because they're just going through a set too rapidly with no control. Arnold is like that. And I'd be curious. Number one, I couldn't hang with his volume, but I would like to try the chest and back workout that he does just to see what level of brutality is. And basically, I'd like to learn how his body handles that punishment because he does have a degree of recklessness in his training that I don't have.
Cool. That's great.
And this probably the Alex is like a son to me in a way, which might sound weird, but I know he watched my channel long, way back when I was in the basement, the original basement. I have a lot of respect for him, but good Lord, I never want to train with him. Just the stuff, the stuff like reverse grip benches and like a lot of his training is stuff I won't do or would never do, you know. So I know he could handle the way I train. I could not handle the way he trains. So I'd probably just want to put him through a back or chest workout because it would be enjoyable.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Do what's enjoyable then.
Wow. You know, the strength endurance some of these old guys have is incredible. And the sheer amount of time in the gym they put in is incredible. I really find a lot of the way I train is a reflection of more of the older school methods. Just a lot of these guys are brutal. You look at like Reg Park and you look at like Marvin Eder, just brutal and strong and getting after it. I would simply like to run through a full body workout just to see what it entails, how long they rest in between sets. It would just be a pure pleasure to be a fly on the wall and learn, because everything in this day and age is so overly regulated. But in this era, there was a lot of, I heard stories of guys taking like a break, an hour and a half in to drink like milk and just sit there for an hour and then continue on with their workouts. So I'd like to be a fly on the wall for that and just have them completely destroy me with full body.
Can you let everyone know who this is in case they don't know?
This is this is not Grymic, right?
It is.
It is Grymic, because the picture was messing me up a little bit. So I'm like, that looks like Grymic, but it's kind of a grainy photo of him. So I was trying not to say his name in case I screwed it up.
Oh, you're right. You're good.
Yeah, it had the whole Batman eye thing going on. Like, I've not seen that. I've seen so many pictures, but I'm like, I've not seen that picture of Grymic before. Is that Grymic?
All right, let's do one more. And this one, you can answer it either way. You can pick Lou Ferrigno or you can pick the Hulk.
I would definitely pick Lou Ferrigno. There's not enough information out there on how Louis trained, like not enough footage. Everything's so Arnold focused. But Louis was like the underdog. He had the, I don't know what it was like to be Louis. Back then, it was a looser era. We picked on everybody, right? and everybody kind of took it well. But I'm sure that was a huge motivator for him. But I would probably like to train shoulders with Lou. Um, just those monster traps. I know he's got a solid chest, but I'd like to see how Lou tackled shoulders and traps. I really would.
Awesome. So speaking of kind of Avengers and Marvel, you've mentioned kind of training like a superhero. And I think a challenge for a lot of people is they don't really know what goals to have. And they kind of look at YouTubers and say, tell me my goals. For you, your goals have changed in different time periods. And you mentioned not being stuck in a box. So I'm curious, what does it mean to you as you look at your goals going into your mid 50s and beyond? And how does this impact your role, as a father and a grandpa?
Well, I think the cornerstone of everything I've ever done is freedom. I grew up in I know this is very cliche to say, but I grew up in a very abusive home, psychologically abusive and physically abusive. And we didn't have a lot of money. My mom didn't even have a car until while I was in high school. So she would walk to my baseball games to watch me play.
Wow.
And we didn't have freedom. I didn't have things, right? And to grow up and enter a world where you are free to do whatever you want. Um, that was always me. I didn't, the modern era, we have a tendency to want to define ourselves. We have to have a bio, the perfect polished bio or profile, um, you know, structure and all that kind of good stuff. But, I just did things because I loved them. And it's always been about passion for me. Um, just 100% passion. And when I found out earlier in my life, that lifting gave me freedom and it gave me power and it gave me mental strength and confidence and the ability to improve my athleticism and to become a superhuman, superhero, so to speak. I absolutely fell in love with the physical, um, the physical side of life, just being able to do superhuman things. And that's kind of what happened when I stumbled on powerlifting. I didn't know it was a sport when I stumbled on it. And, I'm not a power lifter. I'm just somebody who tried powerlifting. I'm not an ultra runner. I'm just somebody that tried ultra running. But, I am 57 this year and I physically feel 25. And if anybody thinks that's a joke, come train with me. I will literally kill you. I don't mean that in a rude way, but that's just how I feel. And I want to show people that this year, I want it to be my best year yet. I want to be able to do a 50K. I want to be able to bench 400, and I want to do so under 220. These have been goals of mine for a while, but I had COVID for 5 months, and then I tore my knee walking down the stairs of all things, and that had me out for 8 months. So and then last year we were moving house. So it's been a lot of distractions the last 2 years. So this year is the year where I'm ultra focused and I want to just show people, I want to show myself what is possible.
Yeah, and I find the ultra running to be super inspiring, kind of coming from your background. Um, as a goal in your kind of mid to late 50s, I think you could have just said, I'm the lifting guy. I'm going to just keep focus on that. But to move into something so different, but is still so athletic, I find um, it really shows that you're not stuck in a box from a goal perspective.
Man, I cannot begin to express how much I love running. I just can't. Like I ran a lot when I was a kid, but it was 20 minutes at a block, in a block, and it wasn't anything big. But um, I remember being out on a trail. I was hiking a lot, and I saw these lunatics running. I'm like, these guys have mental illnesses. What are you doing? Like you're gonna die out here. Um, so I built up quite a bit of endurance and conditioning because I was hiking some pretty challenging stuff, basically about 10 miles a weekend. I was single. I had nothing better to do. That was that was what I did. And when I decided to return back to running a little bit. And I realized, wow, I can run pretty good. My conditioning's pretty good. And I went out one day just to see what I could do, how long I could run. And me and my wife, we were in Indiana. We had no intention of doing 2 hours. And I knocked out 2 hours, like a 2 hour trail run, like boom, like your mind opens because you literally can't believe what happened. Right. I signed up for uh, a 12-hour endurance run in West Virginia. I had no context, right, of how hard this was. This is an extremely hard course. It's just extremely challenging, and the elevation changes and the terrain changes are ridiculous. So I signed up for that with a month's worth of training, and I completed a marathon on a trail my first time out. And I'm not trying to brag, but it was literally the most emotional experience of my life.
Wow.
It was just like a religious experience. It was like, I physically cannot believe I'm doing this. It's like an out of body experience. And ultra running is certainly not for everybody, but I believe it is one of the most physically and mentally challenging things you can do because there's so many variables that I cannot express how much I love to be out there, just equally with the strength component of my life.
Yeah, that's great. And I can see that, passion for it. And you've mentioned a passion for lifting as well in the past. I'm curious if when you've started an endeavor, if that passion was there day one. I know when you were younger, you played basketball and baseball, you did cross country, wrestling. Was that excitement and passion there day one? And was it always there? And how can people find their passion when it comes to athletic endeavors?
I'm going to touch on how people can find their passion second, but the passion was not there from day one. I've always loved athleticism. I've always loved doing things, shooting hoops or smashing a tennis ball against the wall, or just playing base. I've always enjoyed as a teen, I always enjoyed physical things. But the first time I stepped into a gym, it was a safe space because it was a small college in New Mexico, and only 9,000 or 900 people. And the gym was so small but functional. So it was a safe space. I had all this equipment uh, available to me, and no one was ever down there. It was a petroleum engineering and astrophysics based school primarily, and literally everybody there was 100% nerd. I was as well. I just happened to be a fitness nerd, and the first time I went down there, I literally can remember this like it was yesterday. I tried to bench 95 pounds because those little 25s don't look very heavy. And I'll just
No.
put one of those on both sides and I'll be able to do that because that's half my body weight, or 60% of my body weight. But I remember getting 3 reps and getting pegged on the 4th rep. And there was one guy in there who saved me, from my imminent doom. And I'm like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never doing this again. I was humiliated. But I returned and something clicked in my brain. Like I would write down 95 by 3. And then when I went back the next time, it was 95 by 4. And then you go back and you get 95 by 5. And then you get 95 by 6. And you can see the tangible progress on a daily basis. And it was like a whirlwind. I just got caught up. Um, I bought the bodybuilding magazines. I bought the bodybuilding books. I started studying programs and exercises. And it was like just an instant passion. It was just not many things in life give you control, right? You can go out and you can try to meet the perfect partner and you can go through 1,000 failures, right? You don't get to see that +1 progress on paper each day. And I just clicked with that ability to see tangible progress every day.
I wonder if
Yeah.
that comes back to how you said you wanted freedom. I'm sure you also wanted that control and being able to see it day to day, week to week, I'm sure was kind of liberating.
Yes, and no one can stop you, right? Now you talked about finding your passion. Um, it's like it can feel like chasing ghosts to some people,
Mhm.
but finding your passion to me is all about number one, trying things. Don't box yourself in. Be like a kid, play, do things. Like if I grew up in this era with all the MMA and with all the kettlebells and with all the stuff in extreme sports, I don't know where I'd be today, but I probably wouldn't be lifting because there's so many wonderful physical pursuits and distractions available that are easier access, right?
Mhm.
Um, I just don't know where I'd be. I probably wouldn't be in the same place. But to find your passion, number one, you need to play like a child. You just need to go out and do things. Try it. Like I've been to 46 states via car. I ran in probably half the states in the country. It's just getting out and eating meals and seeing people and doing things. And experiencing things. That's where you find your passions. It's like turning over stones, and then you find a stone and it consumes you before you know it. You're absolutely consumed.
Yeah,
So
I was
so
gonna say, I
that's
always tell people just to follow your curiosity and just see where it takes you.
yeah, man, just every day do something different. It doesn't have to make sense. And you know you're on the right track when your friends say that's not you, right? Why would, right? Why would you do that? That's not you. You're right. It's about to be me because we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, I know for myself, like I kind of come from the tech and startup world where everything's really unpredictable. And I love the control aspect of lifting, where I know I can add a rep or some weight to the bar and I can keep improving and I can see it quantifiably. So I find that pretty exciting too.
And even when you're struggling through injuries or struggles or different parts of your quest, there's always something you can do. There's always something you can do.
Absolutely. So I'd love to move this conversation. I think it may still talk about control, but more on the progression side of things and the rep goal system that you help create. Maybe you can explain it and um, why you think it's an effective tool.
Well, number one, I'm a math nerd, so I like structure. I
You
like
went to school for math, right?
math was definitely my foundation. Let's put it that way. I had the highest aptitude in math. I went to school for astrophysics, but it's all math based. But I like structure, and basically the rep goal system. You're doing the same weight for 3 sets of an exercise. So there's not a lot of changing plates. People that enjoy changing plates, God bless you, right? Right after. But for those of you that don't, the rep goal system is a good tool because you just use the same weight for every set, and obviously you're going to have a diminishing performance. You might do 10 reps with it on the first set and 7 and then 5, and you basically just add up the reps from all 3 sets. In that example, 10, 7, 5, that'd be 22, and you set a goal. When I get to 25 total reps, I'm going to add 5 pounds. It's really as simple as that. It's just a tangible progression method. The beautiful thing about it for me is that you can have a bad day on your first set and a good day on your second 2 sets and still have a net profit that day, so to speak. So you're never out of the fight. You can come back and bounce back, and it's more the bigger picture, which I think can be a little bit more mentally satisfying than when you go into the gym and just wreck that first set.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it probably works best for people that have that long-term mindset.
Yeah, and there's so many boring progression approaches out there. I just find doing a little bit of math a little bit more exciting.
Absolutely. So what I want to do now is I'm going to throw out some kind of fitness ideas or concepts, and I want you to tell me if you think they're overrated or underrated.
You bet. Let's get in some trouble.
All right. Mike Israetel style volume as the main driver for hypertrophy.
Way overrated and unrealistic. Um, and I respect a lot of what Mike says, but let's just addressing the topic. As somebody that coaches for a living, most people have school, have wives, have houses, have stress, have demands, and incrementally adding volume is a luxury, you know, that can be afforded to. It's not an excuse. It's just a luxury. Not many people have seasons in their life where they can afford that. That aside, you can make amazing progress without that piece of the puzzle. I've never needed more than 20 sets per workout to achieve amazing results. And I know just from experience, I know that to be the case for many, many other lifters. So volume is way overrated.
Okay. Yeah, I do like 16 to 18 on my average workout session, and
And
it's
that might,
fun.
Yeah, it might trigger the 3D muscle or Callum's crowd. But look, I'm not saying it wouldn't be a good idea to add volume over time as you get to an intermediate stage. But like I said, it's a luxury, not a necessity.
And I think we're all adults, and I think you're just giving your point of view on this specific topic, right? And then,
Right. I'm not sure they would disagree with me. So
great. Building your work capacity.
underrated. So many people will come to me, and I give them what's phase one training, which is a starting point. We're not going to try to kill them, right? We are going to try to ease them into things, but we're going to try to hold them to a higher standard. And they will be like, on the second exercise, my triceps were torched. I could barely move anything. I could barely go on. What should I do? Like, build your work capacity. It's you have to build it to a certain level so you can survive about 75 minutes in the gym, give or take. We're not trying to create a rule where you can just absolutely destroy yourself with 16, 18 hard sets. That doesn't mean you won't feel fatigued. That doesn't mean you won't feel worked, but you can get in quality work in 70, 75 minutes. If you can get to that stage where you're recovering okay, then you have a decent amount of work capacity to build muscle.
All right. Specific exercise splits.
Way overrated, and this gets me into so much trouble, but they really don't matter. I mean, if one simply needs, I've lived through all eras. That's part of being old. I've seen all the eras. It started with full body, and then it went to like the Arnold split, which was a full body spliced into two, in a 6 days a week training, and then somehow it evolved into body part splits, and then we swung back into full body again, and now we're kind of in I don't know, AB land, and I don't see a lot of guys doing full body. Just way overrated. Over the course of a 10-15 year lifting career, it doesn't matter. Weekly volume matters, and I think if you're intelligent and look at the research, and Brad Schoenfeld discussed this, and so did Paul Carter, if volume's equated, then over the course of a week, it really doesn't matter. A lot of the full body studies inherently had more volume built into them, so there was bias. We just didn't realize that. And that's kind of when we look at a true meta-analysis and we're fair, the reason why some of these full body studies came out on top is because they had more volume weekly. So that when volume is equated, doesn't matter.
So do you suggest doing the split that you enjoy the most and fits your schedule, or what would you suggest for most people?
Most people that come to me, we end up doing a flexible schedule. Like, we don't do days of the week stapled to a certain, like Monday. So a lot of times, because of that necessitates doing like an upper posterior split, which is something I created, or a torso limb split, or something where there is like 4 workouts, A, B, C, and D, and we rotate between them over the course of, and inserting rest days when we need to. So I find a lot of people function better on flexible schedules. You can work on 3 days this week, 4 days next week, maybe 5 the next, whatever fits your schedule. And usually the best type of system that facilitates that flexibility is usually like an A-B split.
Okay. All right. Last one here. Doing exercises you enjoy.
You have to have some playtime, but if all time is playtime, then all time is no results. Well, I mean, you might enjoy all the exercises I do. So yeah, I just happen to enjoy the exercises that bring results. But I like to have one exercise that's a pet exercise per body part per week, because not everything needs to make sense, and there needs to be some room for play and trying new things.
Okay. So speaking of exercises you like, what is your Mount Rushmore, your 4 favorite exercises to do?
Man, you want to get big, you need a big dumbbell row. just for your back, your traps. And I believe it works my lats exceptionally well. But we like to compartmentalize upper back and lat training, and somehow they're not compound movements, which is nonsense. I feel my lats working on rows. So rows are one of the big ones, and it's such a huge, huge room for progression. Whereas like the pendlay or barbell row, the pendlay row can really hit your lower back hard. The barbell row, it can get sloppy and people can get upright. So as far as a back exercise, dumbbell, I'm biased towards dumbbell row. I'd be biased towards pull-ups if I didn't suck at them, if I didn't have long arms, but I do. Overhead pressing, I would say dumbbell overhead pressing. I think seated dumbbell overhead presses, when you're focused, are an amazing delt and trap builder. And that's one of my favorites. And dumbbell bench. I lean towards dumbbells just because barbells are great, but I like being able to pick up hundreds at a gym and knock out 20 rep sets. I like rep work with dumbbells. So those three, what do we got? Dumbbell rows, dumbbell overheads, dumbbell bench, and we get to pick one more. This is hard because I want to go back in time and kill myself with the pendulum squat or the V squat or the leverage squat. But for me, it has to be squats. Deadlift, we have back work in the mix, but it has to be squats. Awesome. I have to pay homage to Tom Platz and my roots.
And I'm guessing if you had to train with Tom Platt, you would do leg training.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd want to have a near-death experience. I don't know. This, like we were talking about Grymick, you look at the way these guys trained, and like it's on another level, man. It's just on another level.
I think it's because they had no rules and boundaries, so they just worked and worked and worked.
And then when you I come from that world, and then you make a video about hard training, and some of the younger guys go, "What does it mean hard?" You just go find your favorite bodybuilder and go train with them, right? You'll find out real quickly.
For sure. So now I want to talk about AI, which you actually had a message about today. So I know you asked ChatGPT to make a workout program. So I'm curious, based on what you expected, what went better than expected and what went worse than expected? And I'd love to know your thoughts long-term on AI and fitness.
Man, I love ChatGPT. It made a workout that looked like one of mine. It was very satisfying. And really, it's not that I wanted AI to make a workout that looked like mine, but my whole thing has been analyzing the totality of lifting and finding commonalities and programs and progression and everything, and finding the common pillars. So I've been AI before AI was AI. I was just looking for commonalities in training, and just to have an AI spit out program that was very similar to something I would create was extremely satisfying. You can't argue with the rise of the machines, right? So, you asked what was surprising. That was actually surprising in a good and bad way, right? It was like I was expected to be let down. I was expected to see like a Scott Herman workout where he had 26 sets for chest and 13 for biceps and then 4 for shoulders. So
you can even guide it in a specific direction, right? So you could say, can you review my workout program and adjust it as if Steve Shaw was reviewing it? And you're going to get something pretty close to what you would expect.
Right. You talking about AI, I did mention it on social media today. We are in a personality-driven era of the web where everybody's kind of their own brand. And initially in the wild, wild west of the web, we were like, hey, look at all this information. That's just spend endless hours looking at all the information, good and bad, right? But now that Google has grabbed control and organized that information a little bit better, we we're in a personality driven web. People are looking for connection points, and that's why we have influencers. People are looking for other people to connect with, and the social aspect uh, of the web is a wonderful thing. It's also a destructive thing when misused. But um, AI will never replace community. It'll never replace. It'll understand nuance better. It'll understand how to work around a shoulder injury better. It'll be able to repeat what I say, no doubt there. But it can't talk on the phone with somebody yet. Maybe in the future, and go through their personality and build something that's not just good on paper for them, but good on paper for their personality and their psyche and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think it'll be great on the short term for a lot of the mundane tasks that we have, but it doesn't have a clear point of view. It doesn't have wisdom and experience to draw on to provide that. It doesn't understand relationships and community, right? So I think if you look at it as something that can help you, like a co-pilot, that's probably the best way to think about AI.
And when it does understand all these things, and it will, that's when we're in a different world. And I'll be dead by then. You guys have all your own problems, or maybe I'll be living in a cabin in the middle of the woods and hiding from AI. So, but it eventually will, right?
I'm sure the math nerd in you expected this to happen at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I was writing. The first job I ever had was when I was 13. I was a programmer, a hardcore programmer, and I was hired by the state of Wisconsin because nobody else knew how to program, right? And I was programming in BASIC. They hired me to write a simulation on how to get a job. So it was everything in there. Like it was a whole from brushing your teeth to brush your interview questions, everything, you get a score. And the program was so big it didn't fit on a floppy drive, and they didn't know what to do with it.
People don't know what a floppy drive is.
So
It's this thing that was a square and it went in your computer. And if you look at the save icon, that's what it is.
So I was basically creating an AI back then that was rating, whether you're worthy of getting a job. So it's all AI in that sense. It's all scaling. But yeah, you could see the train coming, but man, does it come quick when it comes.
Yeah, I think things are moving quickly, and I don't think people realize how quickly things will move.
But if I could touch on one point, and this is critical when it comes to mental health. One of the reasons why we tend to get depressed as people is because we don't feel a part of something, right? So we had talked about passion, feeling a part of something, a part of a community. When you feel a part of something, it's going to help fight or fend off those depressive thoughts. It's not going to be a magical cure, but when we feel a part of something bigger, whether it's a lifting community, a social media group on Facebook, or a local church, or just anything, a hiking group, when we're part of a community, that's a great way to fend off depression or to fight depression. And AI can never replace community, I hope. Well, for some people it might, but let's hope not.
Yeah, let's hope not. I think that's a really important point because I think with influencers and self development now, everyone talks about being a lone wolf, being in a monk mode, and all of these things. And the times I was most successful, I was locked into whatever my passion or work was, but I was also hanging out with my friends. I had a sense of community. I was chatting with people. That never went away. And I think that actually, keeps the stress levels down, makes you loose, makes you more creative.
If you're around good people, it can just be like the old TV show Cheers, where you just pull up and have your seat at the bar, and everything's just good and well. I've always been around communities. That's why I'm here. I started a website in 2006, 2007 called Muscle and Brawn. I no longer own it, but it was a V-Bulletin forum, and it grew into one of the largest communities on the web. And we created a safe space. Like, we're not going to talk politics. We're not going to talk religion. We're not even going to swear, right? We're just going to have a safe zone, not a sterile zone. And right now I have Team Massive Iron, which is a community. And it's always, I like having that touch point every day where I can just plug in the morning to my community and then go about my business.
For sure. I actually read through some of your old Muscle and Brawn articles, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah, I have the book. If let's see, if you look right here over my shoulder, that blue book is the Muscle and Brawn Archives. That's nearly every article from the old site. It's tainted now. It was bought by somebody that sells fake steroids, but we did save a lot of the information.
All right. I'm going to finish things off with kind of a fun question here. What does it take to make a good chili?
Man, I like to put in a lot of different ingredients. I like to really create a rich flavor profile. Cilantro, lime, green salsa, red salsa, fresh jalapenos, fresh green pepper. I like to have just I like to put a lot of stuff in to create really a rich flavor profile. That's the way I do it. I really, and then heat is secondary. You don't want it so hot that you can't eat it.
What level of heat do you put in?
For me, it's probably a 5, but for everybody else, that's probably a 9.
Okay, you can handle your heat clearly.
Yeah. Well, the college I referenced earlier, or what's a school?
Was that New Mexico?
Yeah, their staple food is green chilies. So, if I could tell you a quick story, I didn't know what a green chili was, and in New Mexico they eat green chili and everything. So, I went to the cafeteria my first morning and had a green chili omelet, and then for lunch I had a green chili hamburger, right? And then I had my 5 o'clock calculus class, and my stomach was so disrupted. I literally thought it was going to be a crime scene. So that was my introduction to hot food in New Mexico.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time today. Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yep, you can pretty much search Massive Iron and find me anywhere on YouTube, Massive Iron. You can find my community at teammassiveiron.com. And other than that, you can just search Ben the Barman, Ben the Barman, Ben the Barman. And I'm on Twitter, on Instagram, and pretty much TikTok, every other community in the world.
For sure. And it seems like you've, you still have the big, hairy, ugly dude here in your name. And I think you were at the Beast of Duloc. You've had a few different names over time.
Yeah, it started as the Bearded Beast of Duloc, and somehow somebody started calling me BHUD, so I'm running with it.